Hello, and welcome to today's installment of Created for More, the podcast. Gosh, we're already at the end of the year. Oh my gosh, who else thought like 2022 went by in like supersonic speed? I thought so. Like, we're only in January the other day, and now look at where we are. We are in December. Whoop, whoop, whoop. First of all, we thank God for life. We thank God for provision. We thank God for, all the things that we have experienced. Health. I don't know what it's been like for you, but I would love to hear. How has your 2022 been? Let me hear it. Let me know what it's been like on your end. So today I thought, what am I going to do for a show to just kind of bubble wrap 2022 to put everything together in a nice little bow? And I thought, actually, maybe I should do a look back episode, like just not look back, but kind of like an end of year review. So I am today going to be doing an end of year review live on my podcast. I don't believe I've ever done one. Well, I've done like kind of like forward views, like, well, actually I have, I lie, but this is going to be in depth. It's going to be different. It is going to be different, I promise you. I actually went and sat down and thought about what my year has been like. I've put my year into 4 quadrants, so each quarter, and just kind of I'm going to be reflecting on each of the quarters of 2022 for me, just the highs, the lows, the great points, what my experience has been generally, so that in the hope that you'll do the same also. And appended onto that, I am then going to be answering some quick fire questions at the end, on just, again, general reflection questions, and just giving you an insight into a holistic insight into what my year has been like. So guys, today is a packed show. I want you to go grab, whatever makes you comfortable, a nice little cuddly blanket, some tea, or actually scratch that. If you are in a warm climate, I am already jealous of you. Just know that wherever you are, as long as it's warmer than it is in the UK, I'm just like, what are you even doing here? How do I even know you? I kid you. So, but anyway, just get comfortable, get a journal if you can, because as I start to reflect, hopefully it will inspire some thoughts in your head, and then maybe you can write those down, and then obviously maybe go and expand on it later, if you so choose. But the idea generally is that this episode is meant to inspire you to really sit down, dig deep, take stock, and just think about the kind of year that you've had, and then hopefully help you then, hopefully what that then does is position you for a better 2023. Who thinks that's a good idea? Who thinks that's a good idea? So today I will just be chilled out. Let's go. Let's get in the flow. Should we do that? All right, then let's do that. So I've been thinking, Q1. Let's start with Q1. Q1 2022 for me. It started off with a bang, I would say. I was on holiday in Dubai with my family. So I remember exactly where I was when we got into the new year, and it was just like, oh my gosh, lots of fireworks. I was on the beach actually, and scratch that. Look, I grew up in this sort of traditional Christian family where you will always be in church on New Year's Eve. So this is kind of like one of the first times, that it was different, because I was in a different country. I tend to always, like, even if I go on holiday over Christmas, I tend to always come back and just kind of be around my base for Christmas. But this year was different. We just spent, Christmas all the way to New Year there. So it was different. But don't worry, there was prayers. There was just that deep sense of gratitude. I think that's where I started the year, just feeling great. I'd had some conversations with some, people in my life, mentors, coaches, just prior to that day, and I just kind of really felt a sense of preparedness going into 2022. I knew that this was going to be my year. This was going to be my year where I was going to do things that I hadn't done before, and I was really, really excited about it. So it started off as a really, really excited year. I think exciting year. Straight after, I think on the probably sixth or seventh or so, I had a webinar called The Greatness Code, and it was just this amazing. If you haven't watched The Greatness Code, you should. I don't even know where you would watch it now, because I don't believe I put it anywhere, but it was part of a group I used to run then called the More Collective, but I've transitioned from the More Collective, and I offered, because I just kind of decided that I wanted to be able to offer more to people, and I wasn't giving, I wasn't helping people at the level I wanted to be helping them at in the More Collective. So I transitioned into the Voyage to Growth Accountability Program, which you hopefully know now. And if you haven't signed up, make sure you are on our wait list when we open enrollment for the next one. So I was kind of doing, Dubai, came back, More Collective, the Greatness Code, great workshop. February, that was kind of like the highlights of January. And then I started planning the Creative for More Summit. Woof, 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 woof. Oh my God, talk about stepping into the deep. It was such a moment for me, because I had never done anything of that skill before. I'd heard about summits, but somehow I just kind of felt like it was time for me to step off the boat and just kind of do something a little bit more. So this podcast, Created for More Podcast, I decided to have a summit, and it was so great. Lots and lots of registered participants showed up on the day. We had incredible speakers. We had John Obidi, our keynote speaker, Odo Konjo, we had Joyce Daniels, we had, we just had Brala there, we had Jimmy Tewe, Ehi Ademabo. Guys, if any of you is listening to this, just know how grateful I am for you guys who have been with me on that journey. It was called The Activation as well, and the name itself was like, oh my God, and everyone's like, I want to be activated. So that was really, really good. Really, really, really massively support team that I had working alongside me, just volunteers. It was just like this well-oiled machine, and it just worked. So I want to say massive thank you if you were part in any way connected to that summit. I want to say massive thank you so much for everything that you did to ensure the success of it. And then shortly, if you see me looking down, it's because I have literally itemized. I'm not like, I've literally itemized because I wanted to make sure that it was rich. Just my reflection in itself was just, all encompassing. It had as much stuff as I thought would make it like give a rounded view of what my year was. I didn't want all this thinking on the spot and then you forget stuff, pockets of stuff. I was like, no, I want to make sure I have everything. So next, what happened after the summit? Straight after the summit, I released my first book, and I was so excited. I am still very excited about it. How to Be Unstoppable. If you haven't read this book, I don't even know, like, do I know you? Why are you here? I'm joking. But honestly, you want to grab this book, How to Be Unstoppable. Make it the one thing you read before. If you haven't read this, just quickly go grab yourself a copy. I have been told that it is a very, very, very deeply insightful book. Of course, what else would you expect? But anyways, I released my first book, and I was super excited because then I traveled to Morocco, which was my second trip of the year. I was in Marrakesh, I believe in February. Yeah, I think I was in Marrakesh in February or so, which was like an awesome trip. And whilst I was out there, my book made bestseller status on Amazon, and I was like, oh my gosh. I still remember the dance I was doing on Instagram. I was just like dancing and sliding from side to side, and I was like, yes! I was so excited. And I think what made it even more exciting was that it was I think number one for, I think, probably 4 weeks or something ridiculous like that. It's like, what? So that was so exciting to have my first book make bestseller status. But back to the Marrakesh trip. Marrakesh was amazing. It was a personal retreat. I went with a group of people, professionals from other parts of the world. It was organized by Yetzili Bankole Bernard, who was actually a speaker as well on my summit, and it was so well organized. I loved it. I did a couple of first on that trip. I went on a hot air balloon ride. Like, catch that. I was on an actual hot, my husband says I have a H factor. I'm gonna try hot air balloon ride. If you didn't grow up in Lagos and you don't know what H Factor is, my gosh, you're missing. Or you're not missing out because you're lucky, but still, some of us have to deal with some residual things. Morocco was a really, really good vibe. Really enjoyed myself, and it was one of those that I will remember fondly. Then roll on quarter two. Quarter two started off also really, really exciting. I went on my first was it first one? I went on a prayer retreat, and it was so good. I think actually it was my first by people. It was organized by a group called People of Influence, and it was really, really nice because guess what, I got to do my very first book signing. Woof, woof. I got to talk about the book. Lots of people asking me questions. I got to sign it, and it was so exciting. I still remember, and I'm like, wow, that was me. So good. And then May was roll on May, so that was in April, and then May I then started the pulling together or the launching of the Voyage to Growth Accountability Program. My baby! And that was so exciting. I had the Voyage to Growth conversations with so many people. I had just eBay, Bankole Williams, DDK. I had Winifred from Delicious Foods. I had Paul Fall. You know, it was so rich. I had Eden Onwuka. I had lots and lots of really, really lovely conversations, and that was so. I enjoyed the Voyage to Go conversation, and then that was then what I used to launch VGAP officially. And guess what happened? Boom! It was a huge. I don't want to use the word flop, but it wasn't. I didn't get the initial reaction that I thought it would be. You know, when you're creating something, you think it's just going to be a piece of cake. I'm just going to tell people about what it is. They'll be as excited as you are, and they'll all sign up and all of that. And I was like, it didn't quite happen like that. People were really excited, but I think people just didn't maybe get it as much as I thought they would. So that was a bit of a, you know, like, okay, what do I do here? So instantly went to auxiliary gear, and it's like, okay, what do we do? What's the next best thing? So I had to do a relaunch. I did a relaunch for it. This time I launched it with a masterclass called the Life Reset Masterclass, and that worked a lot more. So lesson here: if you try something it doesn't really work, it doesn't mean that you know what, not you're not good enough, or all this kind of rubbish that we try and entertain in our head. It could just be that the process or the methodology that you're using isn't suitable, isn't working. So maybe if you tweak something, you will get better results. So that was the big lesson I learned from that. So that was where that was what took me into July, which was when I now started the VGAP program officially, and it was just amazing. July was amazing. I started on VGAP. I had my BFF Brother Kroye Emenanjo. Name is too long. Braxy, your name is too long. I had my BFF Balade Korea Mananjo visiting from the US with her family. She stayed with us, and it was just so good. I remember summer, July just being such a vibe. I got to do so many summery things. I did a lot of touristy things for the very first time since I've been here. Like, I went on just trips around. I went on the boat. I really enjoyed the girls. I visited museums. I did so many things. I really enjoyed summer. So now that I'm suffering in winter, I'm like, okay, Yusuf, you really did enjoy summer. So that was really good. July was just all about sightseeing, enjoying, and really soaking myself up and doing this thing that I planned to do for so long. So if you don't know the context of VGAP, I've said it, it was my signature program that I had in the works at least near on 2 years prior to when I eventually launched it, because I always just thought, it needed tweaking. There was one more thing that needed to be done, and I didn't know it was just mind blocks. Eventually I got it out this year. So this year for me, is very much representative of the year that I really, it just felt like the emancipation. Like, people were getting to experience me in the richness and the fullness of who I really am for the very first time. It feels almost like I've been hiding, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, and everybody's like, wait, hold on, who knew you were like this? I'm like, yeah, I've always been like this. I just didn't say much about being like this. But anyways, really, really good. I was supporting on the Woman and a Half conference, which was really, really great conference hosted by Eden Eomuka. I really enjoyed that. That happened in August. In August as well, my podcast became 100. I reached 100 episode threshold, and I had a celebratory episode with FD Feladurotoye, and it was so good. I was like, wow. So grateful just for the opportunity to just be on a podcast or host him on my podcast. And if you haven't listened to the episode I had with FD, honestly, please, just after this podcast, I'm even tempted to say leave this podcast and go and listen to it, but I know how it is. You might never come back to this, and this is also important. So I want you to listen. Literally, put a reminder on your phone right now to go and listen to it after this podcast. I promise you, it was such a revelatory episode. So many people have messaged me saying, "Oh my gosh, that episode, FD! If you haven't ever encountered FD, if you've never been on any of the Speak for Gold programs that I talk about, then this is definitely one that at least just listen to this." It was really good. I had lots of great interviews in August. I also got a chance to interview Steve Harris, and so those are really, we have literally, this year has been like back to back power on the podcast, so make sure you are taking full advantage. And then roll on September was my birthday. It was Tonbra World Tonbra month. I had my my 40th birthday celebration in September, on the 10th specifically, and that was just such a vibe. My very first party. I don't believe I've had a party, like a proper like shindig, before that. I'm always organizing parties for people, doing stuff, but this time I said, you know what, you only turn 40 once. How about you actually take the time to celebrate yourself? And for me, guess what, I just thought that was like, gosh, that's ridiculous. Like, you do like an actual whole party just to celebrate yourself. Like, makes no sense. I know what will make it make sense. How about I launch a foundation as well? Please don't be like me. You deserve a party, trust me, on its own, not with any strings attached. You deserve a party, so don't be like me. But somehow I appended on a foundation, which I'm richly proud of, the Angel Skin Psoriasis Foundation. There was a great video that was talking about what psoriasis was, which we produced. That was really, really exciting. So that happened. It launched on my birthday, so that just made it even more memorable. But my birthday was definitely one of the moments that made, or one of the days that made this year just like epic. I was told it was my birthday. My BFF from around across the pond, Bragsy, she was also turning 40 on the same exact days. That was really, really good. It was really, really special. I got to really soak in love. That's how I felt about my birthday. I got to really soak in love. I got to really feel, celebrated. I got to enjoy it with my nearest and dearest. I was very intentional just around, the people who were there, and it just meant so much to me. So thank you if you were, associated with my birthday in any way, shape, or form. Roll on Q4. Wow, we're already in Q4. Roll on Q4. Q4 was exciting. It was an exciting month. So in Q4, I did my very first management consultancy gig. I had my very first management consulting gig. That scared me, like absolutely. Like I was completely like petrified. I was like, oh my gosh, Tonbra, there you go again. Keep setting up yourself for things that you don't feel like super prepared for. But the truth was that we have a lot more in us than we realize, and that was what that evidenced to me, because the minute I got there, the minute I started putting stuff together, I was just like, wow, this is what I should be using my life for. So I broke into the corporate space for the first time this year, and it was so exciting. I was working with an insurance company, large insurance organization in Nigeria, one of the top maybe 3 or 4, and it was just really really nice to just do a, run a very detailed training. The CEO was the MD was there. It was just really really good. Obviously I did it alongside my BFF, so it was good to be able to do that with her as well, so that was good. Then I then started working on VGAP 2, but around the same time was when my VGAP 1 cohort they were graduating. They had finished the program. So everything I've been speaking was alongside VGAP. And gosh, was I blown away. Was I blown away by just the feedback, the experience, the transformations, just the things that people were able to step into as a result of doing VGAP. I was so blown away. I had a podcast interview with my court members. I had lots of I had IG lives. They're all still on my page. If you're curious at all, go check it out. And but it was just nice to just be able to impact people on such a deep level, which is the one consistent thing that everyone says, that it's not shallow. It's not one of those programs. It's not like anything they've seen. It's just something that feels so personalized, even if it's done as part of a group. That was good. I also had really some really memorable podcasts in Q4 for me, include the one I did with Efe Ture. If you haven't listened to the podcast I did with Efe Ture, you want to go and listen to it, because that was such a good podcast. When you have conversations and they're like, oh my gosh, mind blown. That was one for me. Literally a guy who decided that he was going to be a model, short, big, well, fat, if you want to call him that, short, fat, black, everything that the world, or stereotypically thinking, you would think would not be considered or would not be beneficial or associated with being a model. He was, and this guy literally turned his life around and became one of the top models and influencers in the United Kingdom. I'm like, how? So talk about intentionality. It literally changed his life. That was a transformation. And basically on the podcast he just talked us through, so that was really really good. It was good. And then more recently, so I've launched VGAP Core 2. I did that, and then also at the same and then more recently we've done I've just returned from Egypt, so I went on to Egypt. I missed a trip in April. So in April I went to Turkey, and that was such a good trip as well for my sister's birthday. Went to Turkey for a few days, and then now I also returned from Egypt. Went to Egypt for my friend's birthday, 40th birthday, and that was really really good as well. So yeah, this year has just kind of been like a real packed out year. The things that didn't make the highlight reel, because we often leave things out and everyone's like, oh, it's so nice and shiny, but there are also things that probably we leave out, right? I left a job, this year, that which is actually a highlight, because I felt really, really embroiled within a toxic space, and I thought, this isn't for me, and I made a decision to leave, a job that was paying well and doing all these great things. But I said, just peace of mind, wellness is a lot more important to me. So I was really proud of myself. That didn't make the highlight reel. The thing that made me make that was like reels. I felt like quitting so many times on this podcast. Believe it or not, this year felt harder than previous year. I felt like quitting on this podcast more times than ever. I just kind of felt it just felt harder to push. I think maybe because there's been a lot more demands on my time. It's felt like, how am I going to just continue, right? This year I was thinking more, and this is something that someone mentioned to me, is like, how are you measuring the value that this process, this entire thing is bringing? I just, the metrics that we would normally use, like metrics such as how many people are downloading, how many people are watching, how many people are telling you it's great. You look at all these things, but you forget that transformation that people get when they listen, the things that it helps them do in the decisions that maybe they make, that takes their lives on a different tangent. These are really they're unquantifiable rather. So sometimes you think you're not making a difference, but you really are. So this year has been it. I felt it more uphill, like pushing a boulder uphill, but I stuck with it. So I'm proud of myself for still being here. What else? What didn't make the reel? I had a really epic time at the start of the year, just fasting and just really, I felt this year more than before. I really connected, with God. Yeah, I felt more connected with God, particularly at the start of the year. I did fasting with people in influence group. That was really, I felt really connected with God. This year, I spent more times with my girls than ever before. I like I said, over the summer we did a lot, and I'm so thankful, and I intend to do more next year. I intend to really prioritize family time and create these bubbles or pockets of time where I get to really engage with them. What else did I do this year? This year I read more books than I've ever done before. Maybe that's arguable, but I read a significant amount of books. So this, I found that, and this is the thing, you find what works for you. I found that listening to audiobooks were my thing. So I listened to audiobooks. So because I traveled a lot, I was always, either airports or something, I'm always listening to something. So that really worked out. Listen to audiobooks, some that I really enjoyed. I really enjoy Yvonne's Orji's her book Bamboozled by Jesus. That was a really good one. The 7 Habits, I did Atlas of the Heart by Brené Brown, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, just like classics that I hadn't read. I just kind of went back and I was listening. I did Russell Brunson, Expert Secrets. I did that book like 7 times or 6 times, and it's a book I keep reading. It's for entrepreneurs in the knowledge space, knowledge entrepreneurs. So that was really good. So yeah, all in all, great year. Thankful to God for everything that he's done, and I know that roll on next year, it's going to be even more exciting. Okay, so if you enjoy that, I hope you have. I am going to move on to the next segment of this podcast, and this is where I'm going to be doing quick fire questions and answering just reflection questions as well, but a little bit more specific on the year. So I'm going to be reading out a set of questions and I'll be answering them. Okay, so question number 1 is, and you write these questions down so that you can do it yourself as well. Okay, question number 1 is, what is the most important lesson you have learned this year? I think for me, I can do a lot more than I think I can. Where the limitations of my mind is around my capabilities, it has not even scratched the surface. I think this year I dug deeper than I have ever dug into the innermost recesses of myself, and I have started to excavate just a little bit. So it feels to me like I just kind of feel this well stream of potential that more can be harnessed from. So I am very grateful. I think what evidenced that for me was the gap. Like I said, the one thing that people always say is the curriculum is so deep and so rich. Like, how do you get this? How do you think like this? So I think allowing myself to really think and enter into who I am, who I've always been, which is an ideator, was really revelatory for me this year. I was like, wow, okay, TT. So that was really good. What is the best thing that happened? I enjoyed my birthday. I had my very first birthday bash. Like I said, it was really good. I enjoyed spending time with my daughters. I enjoyed the podcast. Oh, why didn't I make the room? I had a podcast interview with my daughters that was just so sweet, so special to me, and definitely remains really high up there in terms of podcast conversations. That was really good. I enjoyed thoroughly interviewing Fela Durotoye on the podcast. I enjoyed it, so that was really good, and Ife Toure as well. That was really, really good. Number three is what challenges did you overcome? Oh gosh. Whoosh! Resilience had to come to the forefront. I tell you, my VGAP, when I launched that program, my gosh, I did this whole massive launch sequence, interviewed DDK, Just eBay, this one, Bankole Williams, did all these things, finished. Guess how many seats I sold on VGAP? My very first program that I've been planning for 2 years, and I thought, oh my gosh, people are just going to be running and just trying to, beg me, take my money, come on the program. Guess how many tickets I sold? I sold one, and I was even thankful for the one. I was like, gosh, thank you, because it could have been 0. But guess what? When the going gets tough, the tough get going. I dug in. Like, resilience is one of my core values. And it's like, no, we keep going. We don't give up. I tell my daughters, Nwosuagwu don't give up. We don't give up. So it's like, yeah. It's like, what is the next strategy? So instantly, mid-launch, put in a new strategy, and that was how I was able to get the people that eventually came on cohort 1. So lessons learned: if it doesn't work, don't throw in the towel, change strategy. Okay, number 4, what new skills did you learn this year? I talked about management consultancy. It was brilliant to just be able to stand in my own and start to train corporates as a consultant, so that was really good. I wrote a lot more copy this year than ever before, because sales page and all of that. So yeah, maybe copywriting as well, I would say. What new skills? And just generally being present as a coach. I think I've always done that, but just leaning into this. And again, this had been building from when I used to teach. I used to be a coach, coach people for podcasting. So I think now that I'm doing and I've transitioned for women, I think it's just honing that more, just being more present, guiding, nudging without being too forceful. So I think I'm definitely getting into that. Number 5, what did you do for your career growth? Okay, invested a lot in training. I did a lot of training this year. Like, just this course is here out. This is that. More than I would even admit to anybody, to be honest. But I really, really invested in training. And next year, that is like top on my priority list. I'm definitely taking it up a couple of notches, because you've got to be learning to be given. Like, if you're not drinking from a particular stream, how dare you come and try and educate or teach others? So really, really committed to the process of growth and just being more by myself, in and of myself. Number 6 is, what did you enjoy the most? I enjoyed hosting the summit, Created for More summit. It was just really good. I enjoyed it. I feel like I was rallying the troops, the activation and activating them. It's just like, boom, go be great this year. So that was very enjoyable for me. It was really, really enjoyable for me. I loved hosting the summit. I loved just empowering people in that way. That was really, really, really good for me. What was my favorite moment? It would have to be feedback that I would get from the ladies after I got from the ladies after cohort 1 of BGAP. It was very rewarding. It was very fulfilling. I didn't know that people could give feedback on the level, the kind of feedback I received on VGAP. Honestly, it literally is worth talking about. It's an entire podcast episode on its own. Hey, they will talk these long episodes. Like, I'm like, so I think for me, favorite moments would be people saying to me things like, you changed my life, and just really seeing the people who did it do great things. I think one of the testimonials that really stands out for me was someone, a lady who lives in South Africa, who said, I've been trying to write a book for 10 years and I came on VGAP and I wrote my very first book, and I wish my dad was here to see it. That literally made me emotional. So that was very super special for me. So seeing my great ladies win and do incredible things, definitely. high up there for me. What are you proudest of this year? I'm proudest of publishing my book. I've been talking about publishing a book for a while. So to do it for myself as well was really, really good. First book, How to Be Unstoppable, just the whole process of doing that as well. I'm proud. I'm proud of finally launching VGAP as well. I've been talking about it for years. So that made me really happy. Number 11 is, what did you learn about yourself this year? Just this whole my ideation gift. Like, I was reading about, so it's one of my top strengths. I'm an ideator. And I was thinking about, I was looking into the strength and expanding on it and what it means. And it said, you're able to look at something until wisdom falls out. And I thought, my gosh, that is such a compliment. Thank you. So yeah, I just this gift of being able to, see, I leaned into it this year. Just being able to think and just connect things that are seemingly inconnectable was very, very, it was just astonishing to me. Like, oh my gosh, T, yeah, really? So I enjoyed stepping into my office as an empowerer of women by helping distill wisdom into bite-sized form that can be used practically by them. That really, really, really blessed me this year. So I am going to definitely be digging into it. I sent a request to my husband. I was like, my birthday present, I want this notepad, an electronic notepad. And I was like, I said birthday, sorry, Christmas present. I want this electronic notepad. And I'm sure he's thinking, why are you picking a Christmas? Because I'm like, no, I'm not taking chances. Next year has to be amazing. And I want a notepad that I can use to ideate and sketch out stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. Number 12, how did you live by your core values this year? Never give up. I've talked about that. Resilience is one of my core values. Never give up when things are down in the trenches. Just keep going. Every time I felt like I want to stop, I can't do this anymore, I have just pushed through. So that has really, really been good. Number 13 is, how did your relationships, family, friends, work, family, friends, or at work evolve? I think this year I let more people in, met people due to my coaching program, and just, open my heart more to let love in, lightly in, and just be generally a lot more supportive. Number 14 is, what is the best decision you took this year? Two decisions. The number one for me is just walking away from toxicity. I did that in 2 instances this year that I am so proud of. That Tonbra before would have been no, maybe not, but this year I was just bold and I was like, no. If I have to, I think there's one meme on Instagram that says, if I have to even question which side you're on, then you're not on my side. Hey! Some necessary endings happen, and I thank God, because at the end of the day, you don't deserve to live in a space where people are dragging you constantly. I'm just like, look, if it's not working, it's not working. Do you see what I mean? So that was really, really good for me. Just walking away from toxicity, particularly in my workplace. I'm just like, no, I can't do this, and I'm so proud of myself. Starting VGAP as well was one of the best decisions. Like, you can do it. I'd always thought that I needed more time. When I didn't, you can iterate as you go along. I've iterated, I've evolved the model from cohort 1 to cohort 2. So don't feel if there's something that you want to do and you're thinking you still need more time. No, start it and then evolve as you go along. Okay. Number 15 is, how did you feel? Like, head up, head in, head first. Like, I had moments where boom, I fell down, but I got straight back up and I just continued to do what I do. What got in the way of my success this year? I think I could have achieved more, but I was very self-conscious. That's one thing I'm really working on. Just being a lot less self-conscious and just doing what I need to do and not thinking about it as deeply as I used to. What would you have done? What would you do differently if you could? Have more fun. Have more fun. Fun. I would have more fun. I would do a lot more with my girls. I think next year I'm even going to be a lot more intentional. So we'll do a lot more. Just carve out time for enjoyment as part of life. Let's normalize enjoyment. Let us normalize enjoyment. Life is not for enjoying later. Just enjoy. Have pockets of time or bubbles of time where enjoyment is intertwined with the, that's so. So that was really good. How are you different than a year ago? Obviously more wiser, in dimensions that are, unspeakable, more self-belief, like, oh my gosh, okay, I can do it, just believing in myself more. I think that's really, really good. What did you do for your physical and mental health? So this year I worked out more than I've ever done in my entire life. I have a workout group, and this year I was very committed. Every day where I didn't feel like working out, I would make sure I did, because I was trying to recondition myself to be more disciplined. So that was really, really good for me this year. I was just working out a lot more. The food part, I've still not got a handle on. Not eating as healthy as I should. So that needs to be addressed going into the new year. Myself and I, we have to do a 3-a-side to discuss how this food is going to be. Anybody else on this table, wave a hand. You have to have a plan, okay? I also had pockets of time of relaxation. I took time out, retreats. I ended last year in a retreat, did holidays. So I've just been more conscious about putting in enjoyment and flexing. So I'll do more next year. Number 20, who or what had the biggest part or impact on your life this year? So many people, not to name names. My mentor is way up there, just really, really supportive, loving. My friends, my BFF, just always there, just like constantly, we're running things past each other. I'm her coach, she's my coach, so we're constantly coaching each other, and it's just brilliant. V-gappers, just seeing them transition and evolve and bloom, it's just been so rewarding. So definitely, that has definitely been high up there for me. My birthday as well, just having people just say so many kind things about me, and just seeing this 360 representation of myself was very fulfilling as well. What did you let go of? Hey, people that I thought I needed validation from to be who I am. Ding ding. What were the most useful resources that you had? My people, honestly, this podcast, the people in the back end, they are solid people. And I'm not just saying this because they're listening to it. They're actually solid people. So I want to say massive thank you to my guys. You guys are so amazing. The amount of times where I get my episodes in late, especially this one is super late actually, and they're still able to turn it around. Just say thank you. Every time I felt like I wanted to quit, and there will just be a pop-up in the group saying, hey, when's the podcast for this week is being sent to us, and I have to drag myself up and do something that it really, really helped. So thank you so much to my amazing team, everyone from writing show notes to creating videos, to editing, to everything that goes into making this work, posting on social media, whatever. I just say thank you so much. Number 22 is, what were the most useful resources? I've talked about that. Number 23 is, what are you most thankful for? I'm thankful for families and friends. What did you leave unfinished? Pushing. I just kind of felt like I started learning more about the business side of coaching this year, but next year I will take that on overdrive. The best compliment, number 25, is, what's the best compliment you received? Just being people saying liberator, life changer, activator, those kind of words, like, you've literally changed my life. That has been, and people trusted me as well, has been really good. Number 26, we're going to 30, so we're nearly there. Number 26 is, if you were to talk about this year like a story, how would you write it? It would be a story of a girl who finally discovered that she could how to use her superpowers. I've always known there was something I could do, but I didn't really know how. So finally being able to distill, democratize the superpower for the people that was meant to be, or well, at least start the process of doing it, because I know that I'm literally just at the precipice. I know there's so much precipice. I know there's still so much to do. So that going on, I feel like this year I found my arena. Like, okay, looked around. Okay, these are the people I'm for. This is exactly what I'm meant to be doing. And then next year it's going to be like, go like that. Number 27. If you could describe this year in 3 to 5 keywords, what 3 keywords would I use? Number 1, devotion to craft. Just knowing that this is what I'm doing, this is my arena, this is where I'm staying. Really good. Number 2, wizardry. Like, I just kind of felt like I found my wizardry, and it's a really nice word, but that's kind of, I felt the thing that I could do. I found like my superpowers. I've always known, but I started using my superpowers. And then number 3, I would use the word emancipation. I just kind of felt like I gave myself permission to come out. More than I have ever done this year. So that was really good. Number 28, what energized you? What drained you? Drained toxicity. Oh my God. And then what energized me was my girls, actually. Like, I felt like my girls grew up this year. Like, where did I go from speaking to like you babies to actually like speaking to like almost like colleagues? You know, we're having like this rich conversations. They're asking me tough questions and I'm answering. And so this year has been more like, okay, these girls are transitioning now from just like little baby phase to actually being like, I don't know, I think they're in preteens right now. So really, really good. How was I kind to myself? I've spoken about my holidays at length, all the places I visited, so that was really good. Going away on holidays is definitely how I was kind to myself. And number 30, final question is, what advice would you give to your last year self? Oh my goodness. I think my advice to my last year self would be, just take it easy. It all works out. Take it easy. It all works out. So that's it. That's how I am closing today's podcast, my year-end review. I hope you enjoyed. Listen to me unburden. Listen to me open up, share from my heart everything that I've been doing this year, and you know what's worked, what's not worked as much. And I hope you just you take learnings from it more than anything. This isn't just to entertain you. This is so that it can inspire you to do the same for yourself. So make sure you take those questions down, do them, sit down, reflect, so that you can have a more cracking year ahead. I am just thankful to be on this journey with you, and I look forward to many more incredible podcasts. Keep listening. I need you to keep listening. I need you to forward this to your friends. Don't just listen by yourself. Forward to your friends, your sisters. And then the other thing is, I am having a workshop next year, the 15th, I believe, of January, called Activate 2023. And Activate 2023 is for anyone who is tired of their years looking the same, who is tired of procrastination, lack of clarity getting in the way of them having an epic year. Anyone who is ready to plan a year of their dreams, and also not just plan, get the actionable steps that will help them make their plan work. That workshop is for you. It's a 4-hour workshop, and we'll be going through everything, building a growth map for you, helping you build a success blueprint, helping you. Literally, we're starting from the beginning. Actually, you're going to be doing an identity manifesto. So it's going to cover everything, and it is for a really, really small fee that I know will change your life. So start your year right. You know, I'll put the details on the show notes for you to register. I'd love to see you there and be your activator in 2023. All right, then next week we're going to be coming with our Christmas episode, and that's it as we start to close 2022 on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here week after week. God bless you.